Good afternoon, Miss Ryan. How
Hi,
are you?
hi, it's so good to see you.
Indeed, indeed. I'm loving the braids. I was not expecting that because I have the other picture of you that I have.
Oh yeah, we're in a pandemic. So I have to do my pandemic hair. Yeah,
Okay.
so I love it. This is my second round of braids. So
I'm so grateful that you took time out of your schedule to be with us for the cavalcade. This will be the first. This isn't the first time you've done an interview with us the um, the cafe and for some of our readers, but for the cavalcade, definitely
yes,
your first experience. And we got to
yes.
do a lot more people virtually than we did when we do physical ones. So, life being what it is, allowing that this technology helps to
Right.
bring us all together. I'm excited about that and excited to see you
Yes.
and to talk about.
I had several readers too when I posted, they were like, it's full, I'm on the waiting list. And I was like, that's amazing.
But I allowed everybody on the waiting list up until late last night.
Oh, good,
Everybody who
good,
was on the wait list, I sent them the link. The
good.
difference is everybody was on Eventbrite, and I had to get them over to
Right.
Zoom. And because
But
it's
it's great though to have that much interest. It was amazing.
yeah, you
Right.
did. You did an awesome job. I saw it also when you posted it, I saw the uptick in
Oh,
uh,
really?
but you know what? I forgot to do something in the last post. I'm going to do station identification really quickly.
Okay.
JL Campbell. I wanted everybody, the readers, to see this wonderful spread of books of hers. She was our last host with Tyara Moody, and she did this wonderful spread. This is only a few of her books. She is a writing machine and just awesome. And I just wanted to make sure I displayed that because it was supposed to go on the
Gorgeous.
last one. But oh wow. Okay, so there we go. We're back here. I have a beautiful one for you too, because I
Oh,
you sent me those pictures and it was like, oh my God, she's just gorgeous. But you know what reminded me that I needed to invite you is I saw a sponsored ad from Amazon.
yeah, I've seen people keep tagging me on it. That was done in January. And it's just been running and running and running. I'm so glad you saw it though, because I'm really honored to be involved.
And I
Thank
was
you.
like, oh, we have to invite Kennedy.
Yes, I'm so glad you
Invite
did.
Kennedy, and was like, and you were like, yeah, I'm count me in, because you've done things for us in the cafe, but I want to show this one now. Here we go. This is your latest, I think. This is
Yeah,
it's a box set.
that's a box set. Yeah, my last full length is Queen Move, but this is my last box set. This is a box set I put out 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
Yes, because that's what popped up when I was looking for your current. Because I've
Right.
read these, the flow, the grip. You had to read flow and the something before the first one. So I read this series because that was the last part of when you came in the cafe. You were
Yes.
promoting this.
Yes.
I loved them. I loved them, and I appreciate your success. That you were the first Black woman in a long time to be nominated and actually win
To
a.
yeah, to win a RITA, yeah, and they've since done away with the RITA, which is awesome, and now it's called the Vivian because a black woman actually,
Yes.
yes, a black woman actually started the RWA, Vivian Stevens, and an article was out recently about just how she kind of got pushed out of all of that, which I mean, it is what it is. But now they're kind of circling back and honoring her, and they've renamed the RITA. And I was the first Black woman to win one in their 37-year history. The irony is that a Black woman started the organization, and it took that long for a Black author to win. But now they've renamed it the Vivian, which I'm so glad about.
I didn't know that. And
Yes,
I am very happy to see that.
yes,
Even Catherine Falk, who started RT Book Lovers Convention, she was very key at posting things about that. I didn't even know that. I had always considered it a white woman's event. because
Right.
all you saw was white authors. You didn't see a lot of Black authors.
Yeah. And I wasn't the first Black author to be nominated. Like several Black authors have been nominated, but never managed to win. And I'm just real careful about making sure that people know that I don't think I'm like exceptional, like, woo, finally there was somebody good enough to win. It's just that the system was really working against us for a very long time.
And you know what? Is it? I think it was a microcosm of what is going on in
Right.
the world itself. So
Right.
it's blowing up in the publishing industry, and then when you think about the music industry, and you think, but when it blew up in the, it was amazing to me. And you're gonna get a little extra time because it's supposed to be me and you. You first, and then I'm gonna. If you gotta go, you just let me know.
No, I'm fine. I'm
Okay,
fine.
good. Since we can talk about these issues,
Right.
um, my whole thing is when it blew up and when white publishing paid me, when the white authors
Right.
shared with hashtag publishing paid me,
Right.
how much they got paid in
The
comparison.
discrepancy.
The difference was major, and that
Right.
they were even able to take the hit on sharing that information, because people kept that close to the chest.
Right.
But
Oh yeah.
they didn't have anything to lose. They made their money, but they wanted to share that, yeah, we're right. Black authors don't get paid. They get paid 1/100th of
Right.
what we tend to make, and don't get the support either. I thought that was a powerful thing, but it kind of started and stemmed from people were so happy. They don't get me wrong, and we're not taking anything away from your win at all. We were
Oh
happy,
yeah.
fun. Finally,
Yeah.
finally, a sister
Yeah.
gets to win this, but then it poked a hole in. Well, why hadn't a sister started this? So why
Right.
hadn't a sister? Why hadn't a Black
Right.
author, a Black woman, won this before now? So
Right.
it lifted up the skirts of the
Yeah.
romance industry, of that Romance Writers of America, for us to see up under and see the draws was dirty. Oh, that was a damn
Oh
good
yeah.
analogy. Damn good analogy.
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
You carried it all the way through to the end too.
I know, right? But the thing about it is, and when people were seeing all of this, but it also brought out a flip side of white authors who were like, well, they're not good enough. It should be on merit. It has never been
Right.
on
I
merit.
mean, even before everything blew up with RWA, I mean, because I was the first to win, but Minx Malone also won that night, becoming the second Black author in that night. Two of us won, and then Nisha Sharma, who is a Southeast Asian author, became the first Southeast Asian author to ever win. So there were three women of color who won that night, and a lot of people started saying, oh, they met their quota, or they were overcompensating. And I mean, even our wins in some circles were questioned immediately, that it was a token thing that RWA felt like they had to do. So we faced that literally the day after we won, but we know the quality of our work, that it can stand next to anybody else's.
And it can, because when I read yours, I mean, really, and that's what that's what we strive for, content that feels like it came from a major house.
Right.
That is what it's trying. And I felt when I was reading your work, and even your independently published, but it was like, this felt like it came from a major house. It had the polish, it had the plot, it had all of the pieces
Right.
working, it had the heart racing, it had all of those elements that made you, oh, you know.
Well, and I think that we as indie authors, because I'm a hybrid author, I started out in traditionally publishing and then transitioned into indie publishing. But I think I've really kind of built my readership through indie publishing. And a lot of women of color were kind of pushed into publishing indie because, we weren't being given those opportunities in traditional publishing. And it created this incredible ecosystem of very talented Black authors who are doing it for ourselves. If you're not going to give us a seat at that table, we'll build our own table. Yeah. And I think sometimes, whether it's women of color or just anybody who's self-publishing, there is a perception sometimes that our work is not going to be polished, that our work is not going to be well edited, that our covers are not going to be good. And I mean, that's an assumption, that people make, but I would never put out work that I thought couldn't stand beside a traditionally published book. You shouldn't be able to tell the difference.
That is true. And I can see it in the amount of care that you put in to your work that it is just, I was like, wow, it read well, you know, and you're very passionate, you know. I was like, wow, this, I had never heard of you before SL Jennings. SL Jennings
Oh yeah,
brought
yeah,
you
yeah.
to,
I love Sarita.
yeah, she brought you to our the forefront for us to know who. That's where you got your information, your first invite. And Sierra London and Laverne Thompson,
Yes.
these are all your behind the scenes cheerleaders of
Oh.
people who they love you. They love you, they love your work. And I said it before and I say it again. A lot of this has transpired because there's a sisterhood. There's
Right.
a amongst Black authors, Black
Right.
female authors, that, hey, I got my foot in the door. Hey, can you bring this you know,
Right.
bring this person with us?
Absolutely. That's
I
how
have
it should
not
be.
seen as much of that. I know I do that, but I hadn't seen a lot in everybody else. It's just, well, it's just about me. Where
Right.
you you and even with you, it was a time that you asked, and I didn't do that in the cafe at the time, and still
Mhm.
we just focus on the books. But you
Right.
said, hey, it's not about just my books, it's about my cause. And we're going to talk about one of the
Right.
causes that is very near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
But I love that you even advocate for other people.
Oh, as much as I can. As much as I
So
can.
who are your literary role dolls? DOLLS.
Okay. Like my role models, like people I look up to.
No, your side, the people who are with you in this journey.
Oh, with me.
Lateral.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Dylan Allen is probably my best friend. She's a self-published author. I'm always talking about her. Naima Simone, who Minx Malone, they were writing partners, so a lot of their earlier works are co-written. Not Naima. I'm sorry, Nana Malone. Also Naima Simone. Adriana Herrera, who is making such a splash. She's Afro-Latinx. She's amazing. I'm not sure if you've read any of her works, but her last one was called Here to Stay. And she also writes a lot of MM, just amazing work. She comes from the DR, and so she's constantly writing people of color, populating her stories with people of color, huge advocate for LGBTQ issues. Talia Hibbert is, I fangirl over Talia. We're really, really good friends. She wrote, I go blank, but At Your Age, Eve Brown is the one that's coming out. There's one that's Chloe Brown. She has the Brown Sisters series. Talia Hibbert, I'm not sure if you've heard of her, but she's kind of exploded on the scene.
I've
And
only heard of one author that you mentioned, and that would
really?
be, yes, Nana Malone. I've heard that name.
Right,
So
yes.
that's an
Nana and I are really close, but Talia Hibbert, she's amazing. I mean, she's just kind of like burst onto the scene as like a superstar,
Mhm.
and she's really, really amazing. She has a Brown Sister series. It's 3 books. 2 of them are already out, and one of them is coming out in 2021. The last one of that series. So
I'm going to share this real quick,
okay.
and then you tell us about this.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I'm actually working behind the scenes. Some of the graphics the tribe members do and throw at me, and some of them I'm doing while we're. But we want everybody to see what you have to offer. So tell us about this series.
You know, I this was what I'm working on now. I say it's the most ambitious thing I've ever written. This series before that was the most ambitious thing I'd ever written. It centers a Native American heroine, and she's an Apache from a tribe in Arizona. And it starts off with, activism is something that kind of runs throughout most of my books, some form of activism. And I was watching the DAPL protest of all things, pipelines, looking at land grabs, looking at how the American government has taken so much from Native Americans. And I was looking at the pipeline protests. And you know how people talk about a meet cute? So the first two books, it's a duet, and then the last book, Queen Move, is a standalone, but a character who was in the first two, Kimba. It's a meet cute at a pipeline protest of all things, and it covers so many issues. I compare it to Scandal because the heroine becomes she manages political campaigns, and they call her the kingmaker because her focus is putting people in power who will advocate on behalf of marginalized groups. And so she and her best friend Kimba start a company, and Lennox, yeah, somebody goes Lennox and Max, and then Ezra and Kimba, yes. So it's Lennox Hunter, that's the heroine from the duet, and which is the kingmaker and the rebel king. And the irony is that she's at this pipeline protest, not realizing that the man she meets at the protest is the son of the man who owns the oil company who's laying the pipeline. And so it deals with climate change. We go to Antarctica, we go to Amsterdam. It covers about 2 decades, about a little under 20 years. Okay. And so.
I love those covers.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm such a cover like that. We shot that cover twice. I had 2 photo shoots.
Shot it?
Yes, I did custom cover shoots for the series, and we shot. Anybody who works with me, they hate me by the end of whatever we're doing. We have to make up. I'm not really, but I get an idea about something I want, and it's really hard for me to let it go. And so we shot the cover for the duet, and I was like, none of these pictures work. I mean, I was like, do you think that we could get new models, reshoot? And she was like, whoa. You're talking about a whole new photo shoot? Yes, please. And we did a whole new photo shoot. And then I was like, you're going to kill me. Because I think I like the first photo shoot better. So that's how we arrived at those covers. And then for Queen Move, which I'm so proud of that book. You know, I love Kimba and Ezra's story. We did a photo shoot for that cover, and we looked for probably 3 months for that cover model. You know what I mean? It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And I like to, when I'm creating covers, I like to create a whole world. So when I do a photo shoot, I'm also thinking about teasers, I'm thinking about banners, I'm thinking about videos, and I want it all to kind of build from that original photo shoot if I can. So I was really pleased with all 3 of those covers. Oh.
Doing that because I don't want people to hear the clicking behind the scenes. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
That is so awesome. There is a cause that is near and dear to your heart, and I'd like for you to have a moment to talk about because of your son. Right. And the experience. I know before you got on, you say, I'm feeding my son and I'll be right on, but you know, Mama's taking care of business first, right. Before she does the book thing. And I'd like for you to talk about how it came about that, you know, not just the making it into a cause. There's some people who are experiencing this every day in their lives, but you right. have decided to make it a public thing as, right. you know, in addition to a cause that you raise money and funds. And if there's a place that we donate or think, I'd like for you to drop it in the chat.
Sure.
To make sure that we know how to support the, you know, the attendees can find out where to find out more about it as well. So right. I'll give you a moment for you to talk about that as well.
Thank you so much. I'm really passionate. The cause that's so close to my heart is autism. And I'm an autism mom, a very proud autism mom. My son is 19 now. He was diagnosed when he was 2 years old. And the thing that kind of threw us is that my son was diagnosed on a Thursday, and the next day my husband lost his job. And our whole world just kind of went into a tailspin. Now, you're talking about 17 years ago. There is very kind of limited insurance coverage and resources for autism even now compared to a lot of other disorders. But 17 years ago, there was almost nothing, like almost everything was out of pocket. It was a very expensive condition to manage. And so when my husband lost his job the day after my son was diagnosed, it was a really big deal. And it really exposed for me just how difficult a lot of our families were having it. And I also saw a lot of discrepancies with marginalized communities and how our outcomes, you know, when you looked at our outcomes compared to white children, I saw discrepancies there. And that was something that I really wanted to address. About 2.5, 3 years into our diagnosis, I started a foundation for families who have children with autism. It was called Miles Apart. And I ran that foundation for probably 13 years. And we did things like we did Christmas programs for single parents who have children with autism. We did marriage retreats for couples who were in distress. We sponsored summer programs and therapy to underwrite therapy costs for families. We did a lot. And we focused on families in Atlanta. I ended up getting a book deal, gosh, I guess now 6 years ago. And I continued to run the foundation even after I signed the book deal. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And maybe 2 years ago, I decided that I wasn't going to focus on the foundation as much anymore, because at this point, there were a lot of organizations who were doing those same things. At the time, there weren't, but now there were a lot of organizations who were doing those same things. So I started looking for a different niche, you know, some other place where I could serve that was unique and helpful. And I started co-founded with another author, Ginger Scott, who's amazing. She has a nephew who has autism. We founded Lift for Autism. Lift for Autism is an annual book auction. And we raised, I think, I'm going to get this wrong. Somebody's going to have to tell me how wrong I am. I think this last year we raised $40,000 in the month of April. April is Autism Awareness Month. And so what we do is we get all these authors and bloggers and people who want to help to donate books. And not just books, they donate all kinds of things. This year, a lot of authors donated Zoom calls because we were in COVID. And we just thought, well, you know, it's COVID. We're probably not going to raise this much money. And we outraised every year we've been raising more and more and more. And so that's where I'm really focused right now as far as autism is concerned, is with Live for Autism, the auction we do each April for Autism Awareness Month. And so we're already starting to plan for it now. It takes a lot of work and a lot of people participate, but we have been partnering with Culture City the last few years. And Culture City is a national organization that provides support to families who have children with autism. Every cent we get goes straight to Culture City, and then they appropriate the funds to families who are in need. So that's what we do.
Wow, you had that pitch all the way down the line, baby. I was like, dang, she's got that down. That is an awesome thing. How has it been for you balancing a child that has autism, and then your writing, and then the promoting and the touring, and then the husband, you know, all of these things? Right. How are you able to juggle these things and keep your writing life together?
You know, sometimes not very well. You know, it's like some days, because my son is on the more severe end of the spectrum. So he's 19, but developmentally, he's probably about 7 years old, and he'll be with us forever. I mean, who knows what will happen? Who knows, you know, what can happen? We haven't given up on possibilities and potential. And, you know, we always have that. But from a planning perspective, at this age, we are settled that there's the possibility that we will always be responsible for him. And that, you know, that can be tough sometimes on the long haul. And sometimes I find myself retreating into my work, you know, to like escape from some of the demands. And then I have to remind myself, okay, you know, you can't escape from some of the demands. You have to make sure that you're balancing everything. And sometimes it's the other thing where I'm pouring everything into that. And then I realize that I'm not doing anything for myself. And so I think over the years, I've learned to listen to my emotions. When I'm hurting, I've gone into therapy a lot, lots of therapy, ongoing. My husband and I do marriage counseling. Even when we're not having troubles, we have over the years just done marriage counseling on a consistent basis, because it's sometimes hard for you to have time with each other. Everything kind of sometimes ends up focused on, you know, the kid. And so, yeah, I give myself grace. I've learned to give myself grace. I have, like most mothers, I have a lot of mom guilt.
Mhm.
And sometimes I always have to think, okay, what if I wasn't writing, and what if I wasn't promoting? Maybe he'd be better. Maybe he'd be further along. Maybe he, you know, you listen to these lies. They're really lies. You listen to them and you let those untruths inform your emotions, and you find yourself guilty and feeling heavy.
Mhm.
And so my faith is really, really, really important to me. My faith is something that, oh gosh, I don't want to get emotional, but I don't even know if I, you know, be able to do what I do, for my family and for myself if it wasn't for, you know, my faith. So faith and therapy, and a really, really supportive husband, a very husband.
That's good. I mean, hey, we all have one and all the other, hey, for me too, you know, the therapy for sexual abuse and all of the other things that I've gone, physical abuse, all faith and therapy. That is the takeaway from here, that it is
For me, that's it.
we can't do it all. You know, women as Black women, we tend to believe that we can do everything and deal
Right,
with everything, but that is not always the case. And the fact that you said even when we're not having issues,
right.
that
It's
we're
like
in therapy,
maintenance. It's like maintenance.
it's a lot to deal with and keep the pressures of everything going, and then having to make sure that you have a son, that he is well cared for, even though he
Right,
doesn't recognize all of the elements of what you're doing. You know what you're doing and you know what
right,
you need to do. So that
right.
added pressure can be something that, you know, there's certain women who are my niece called me yesterday and she was having a bit of a challenge. Oh, it was the day before, it was Friday. And her husband, who was a truck driver, he got COVID and they had to
Oh,
quarantine in the basement. And she's got little
wow.
ones who cannot understand. Daddy's down
Right,
there. I want to
right,
see daddy. And they can't go down and see him because
right,
it's a matter of it can be in some instances a matter of life and death, and they're not understanding,
right.
and she can't. It's gotten to be a point that broke her. I've never seen my niece cry. Never
Mhm.
seen, except for when she got her first book in her hand. That was the first time I saw her cry. The second time I saw her cry is the fact that she can't allow her babies to see
Right.
their father, and they're not understanding, and the frustration was there. And I wanted to get up and I said, you know what, here I'm putting on my stuff. I knew the cavalcade was coming. I got a few hours.
Yes,
I said,
yes.
don't you come over here. Don't you come over here. And the thing about, I mean, she, all the tears went away. Like, don't you come over here. I mean, she got her little neck rocking. But the point is, I can imagine how that is. And you got to have those outlets. Faith and
Right.
therapy. Faith
Yeah,
and therapy.
right. Faith and therapy. And my writing is so refreshing for me. You know, I started the foundation and I ended up doing a lot for autism, like, you know, going on headline news and, you know, just doing all these things where autism was my whole world. And I realized I needed something that was just mine, you know, and that's how I got into writing. That's how I got back to writing, but something that was just for me. And so between my writing, therapy, my faith, and my husband, who is amazing, that's kind of what helps keep me sane. And he's the best at, like, when I'm a workaholic by nature. He really helps me by saying, you need to pay attention to the fact that you're not taking care of yourself. You need to pay attention to the fact that, you know, whatever's happening, he's a great barometer. And
Oh,
sometimes
I like that term. He's a
I
great
get, oh,
barometer.
he is, because I get so tunnel vision. I don't even realize, I don't know if this makes sense, but you can get so caught up in your work and what you're doing, you don't even realize that you're hurting, you know, because you're numb, you're on autopilot. And he's a great barometer for our household to say, okay, something's off. Okay, there's something that you need, there's something that we as a couple need, there's something that Miles needs. He's great with, like, making sure that the temperature of our house is what it should be, you know?
Girl, you and these weather allegories. Man. I'm like, wait, he's a great barometer. The temperature in our house. You better get your writing life,
It's
lady.
so crazy.
So we're gonna wrap this up. um, by letting us know where we can find you
Mhm.
online, where people can keep connected with you. And I want you to drop in the chat
Okay.
and where we can about your cause, about your book. So you can put that, drop that in the chat.
Okay.
If you're going to stay around, you're going to stay a panelist in order to do that, to reach everyone.
Okay.
So what I can do is, all you have to do is to turn off your video and it will drop you down. You'll still be a panelist, but
Okay.
you're
And
able.
then go into chat and drop that.
Yes, please
Okay.
drop any information you want them to have. I'd like for you to put it there. So
Okay.
I'm so grateful to have had you on today. We're gonna
Oh,
be
thank
back.
you for having
Yes,
me.
we're doing something again next month, so I may hit you up for next month as well.
I will be available. Thank you again for
That's good
having
to
me.
hear. Yeah, y'all hear
Yeah,
that, tribe?
everybody.
Yes, she is gonna come back. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And one last thing, let's get that website one more time where they can find out about your books. One more time.
Oh, okay. So KennedyRyanWrites.com is my website. KennedyRyanWrites.com. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of them, but that's my website.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks again. I really
Thank you for
appreciate you.
having me.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
bye bye now.